Hi everybody, thought I'd give you a quick update on my water system. I replaced the tub that it was in, and it's in a brand new tub now. You can see I have this tank here. Inside the tank I have a Bilge pump, and I've got that Bilge pump wired up to this switch right here. I can flip the switch, and you can see I got a good strong stream of water. Lessons, a couple lessons I thought I would share with you all if you're planning on doing the same thing. I did originally, inside this seal around the lid, I originally had used window seal, and I found that stuff still leaked really bad. And when you go around corners and you hit your brakes and stuff, and it would slop out, and I kept having water filling up, about an inch or two of water down the bottom of my tray, and it was driving me crazy. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I ended up pulling the whole thing apart, taking some rubber silicone seal and just filling in that whole thing. It's all sealed with rubber silicone seal. If I ever need to pull it apart, I'll have to reseal it. But now it's totally watertight. Just a word of advice: when you fill it up, you don't want to just overpower it with water. You could blow your seals out by doing that. Another little helpful tip that I didn't realize until I went crazy with this thing is if you buy a water faucet, a lot of these have pressure valve, a little rubber pressure valve thing inside here, and unless your water pressure is at a certain strength, you're not going to get any water in. And I've got the gravity system on the roof. You can see I got a pretty good stream coming out now. That's coming from my solar hot water tank. But before, it was just trickling out. It was just hardly running anything out. And I was about to go crazy, guys. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get any water strength coming through there. And I finally pulled, these things just unscrew. I pulled it off, and up inside there was just this little water pressure thing. I broke it out and put it back up, and it's worked fine ever since. Just some little helpful tips that you might want to consider before you go trying to run a water system in your van. Of course, I have the bilge pump hooked up to this line here. I don't know if you can see that very good. It's a clear line. You can actually see. Another little trick I learned is it does need to be primed, but you can actually, what I do whenever it's a new fresh tank and I've ran this one totally dry, is I have to sit there and just keep flipping the switch off and on, off and on, off and on, until it finally primes up into the line. Once it finally gets primed really good and gets over this curve in the line, runs down into my sink. Oh, also you want to make sure you put a little loop in it, and I have this loop set up so that if any water does ever drip out of this seal, and it'll run along on the outside here and just drip into my pan. It won't drip out anywhere where I don't want water to go. But you got to prime that pump in order to get that Bilge pump to really give you to really do a good job. Of course, I also have, this is a check valve, allows air or water to go one way, but it won't come back the other way. And I have a just a regular small piece of garden hose hooked up to it, plumbed in, so that all I have to do is, whenever I need to refill my tank, just hook a garden hose up to that. I got a potable water hose that I use, just refill my tank. And as I said, you want to do that slow. You don't want to rush the water in there, you'll blow your seals. Around up here, I did not seal around this. This is still, this moves around and there's no seal there. It is possible for a little tiny bit of water to slop out of there, but it's so tight that I don't foresee having any real trouble. If it does get up onto the lid, the worst it can do is run off the side and down into my tray here. And of course, if I have a catastrophe, I'll show you what happens if it just totally just somehow blows a leak somewhere and fills my tray. You can see the whole system from this side. This is my other door to the van, and you can access the other side of the system from here. This is where my power connection is, and I use the plug here, so if I have to pull everything out, I can just unplug it right here. And my tray, of course, I have it plumbed with a line runs into this clear tube here. This tube is plumbed into my drain line that runs out along, it runs clear down, and you can see down here it runs into a little T there, which runs out through a hole onto the ground. So if this thing was to spring a major leak and just fill this tray, it's just going to drain out onto the ground. It's not going to drain out onto anything in the van. So I did that for extra protection. I don't foresee how it would ever spring a leak. This is my garden hose I was talking about, and my hookup for it. Another little helpful tip is to put one of these things on it where you can shut it off and turn it on. So when you're filling it, when you see that you've got it full enough, you can shut the water off right here and then walk back to where it's hooked up to the house or to your hookup at the RV park or wherever, and you can shut it off there. But that way you won't keep filling your tank while you're walking back to the other end of the hose to shut it off. You can get it exactly how full you want it. And one last but not least helpful tip I want to share with you is get yourself one of these things. It's an RV water filter, and what I do is I screw this end there. Make sure you got your water flow going the right way. Screw your garden hose into there, and that way the water that you're putting into your tank that you plan on maybe drinking out of, or brushing your teeth, or washing dishes, or making coffee, you know your water is going to be clean no matter where you are. They're not that expensive. I bought this at Walmart in the RV section. They come 2 in a box, and pretty handy little thing to have, just a little water filter to add to your system. One other little thing that I do is I keep this funnel handy just to have around. I use this only for potable water. I don't use it for anything else, and I just keep it up here. You never know when you might need to use a funnel with your system. Oh, and also one more little trick that I learned. If your tray gets water in the bottom and you don't want it in there, I have this little it's just fish tank hose, and the way I got this hooked up, I'll show you. I use this end. I just wrapped a coat hanger piece of wire around it, and I got it bent it to where it fits down in here, and then it hooks right here on the edge, and that holds the end of it down. Oops, I say that and then it comes loose. That holds it down in there, clear to the bottom, and then you can just take the other end. Just to get it started, just give it a quick suck, and that will start the water flow. And then I just hold it here, and I do that in situations where if I've done something that caused that tank, that tray bottom to fill with water, and it's for whatever reason not draining out, I can siphon it out real fast. Thank you for watching. Please press like and subscribe. And have a blessed day in Jesus.